I come at boomer games a lot. It's not that I don't like old games. There's stuff about older fighting games that I like more than new fighting games. The way I like to look at this genre is that every game has their good points and bad points. So I sat on it for like a couple of weeks. Like, what do I like about old fighting games? I shouldn't even say old fighting games, as we are about to move into a new generation of fighting games, Street Fighter 6. I feel like it'd be good to go back and revisit this. So why Xrd? So even though Xrd is technically the previous generation, games based off Reload, this game has aspects of old fighting games. But this game is essentially, because this is Guilty Gear XX in another timeline. That's how I look at Xrd, essentially. So one thing I really like is how they make characters feel unique. It's not that I don't think they don't do this in new fighting games. It's that I think they do a better job of this in old games, kind of by accident. One thing about new games, and you'll notice this if you play like Dragon Ball, Grand Blue, Strive, they'll have like one concept for a type of move. They'll give it to many characters, and the move will be almost exactly the same, but with a little pinch of a difference. Like maybe it's a little bit faster, maybe it's a little bit safer, but it's basically like all the same idea. Dragon Ball has this to the extreme, I would say. In Grand Blue and Strive, is this to a much lesser extent. XX, Xrd, like just previous game, most, I should say all, but previous games in general, I think they do a better job of making the characters feel unique. What ways do we do this, right? So one, it wouldn't not just be the moves themselves and the move properties. So for example, let's say Milia, she has this sweep that is invincible to lows. This is basically unheard of. It's basically just her who has this, right? There's a lot of characters who have, they are the one who has this unique thing. There's also in this game the wake up timing. So if you don't know, so they have a different one, face down and face up. This is not really important when you start playing, but the better you get, the more it will affect your strategy on how you attack people who are waking up. In Guilty Gear in general, they go through this all the way down to all the characters feel so different. They have different hurt boxes, when you're hitting them, many different classes of weights. Nobody really has the same way of setting up a combo, really. Everyone has different wake up speeds. Everyone builds meter differently. Everyone runs different speeds, accelerates different speeds. Every single metric you can look at a character, the characters are different. And it makes each character feel like a unique character. A game that doesn't do this the best, actually, so I will give it credit though. Gotta talk about Melty. But I won't say that about Actress Again, because one thing I will say about Actress Again, and especially Current Code, that the characters actually feel a lot different in Current Code, where like in older versions of Melty, honestly, it's shit ton of the casts are all the same character with like very, very small differences. I can't say about Type Lumina for sure, but Current Code, I think the characters are a lot different. So that's one really, really, really big thing. Another thing too is that a lot of older games have like a unique system where a character gets like a special ability. When this is not so common in modern games, we actually gotta boot up the BlazBlue. I feel like this kind of thing is not so common in fighting games today. BlazBlue Central Fiction has a mechanic called Overdrive. So you press all the buttons, and depending on your life total, I believe it is, you will enter this mode. You get a couple of follow-ups, but the main thing is that every character gets a different special mechanic only in Overdrive. So Nine's, for example, hers is she gets stocks on whiff. So if you don't know what this character is, I'll disappear for a little bit so you can bask in her greatness. This is Nine. I love this character. She is a witch, and she has water, wind, and fire spell. So one, she's just a really unique character. When you make someone block or hit them with an element, you will stack the element in the bottom left, and the combination of elements create different spells that you can use with B. And this makes her, she's a pretty interesting character. Unfortunately, she has a kind of bad reputation because she has a couple of really strong things that are very easy, but very interesting. But the main thing is these only happen on hit unless you go into Overdrive, and then you get them on whiff, right? Easy Way is a character that can change modes. In her normal mode, she's just a normal character. In her changed mode, she gets to fly around. She got 2 air dashes. Now, she has special moves that use stocks, but you have to hit them or make them block certain moves. And then you saw that on the bottom right, 2 of those diamonds filled. So now I get to do like special moves with them. In Overdrive, you just get stocks for free, right? So if the strong thing about the character is switching modes and using stocks, but you have to hit them or make them block certain moves to get the stocks, then using this immediately gets your game plan stronger, right? So instead of having like a general activation, so Dragon Ball, for example, Dragon Ball has sparking. So sparking is the same for everybody. You do the same stuff. Like what your character can do uniquely with it is different, but it's not like you activate sparking and the game gives you special character mechanics. You're applying your character's tools in sparking, as opposed to Overdrive, where your character gets something special specifically for your character. There's plenty of older fighting games that do this. Another one that's coming out again pretty soon, Vampire Savior, has Dark Force, same type of thing. The Dark Force by character is so different. Everyone has a really different one. In modern games, I just don't think they lean into this unique aspect of a character so much. Unfortunately. Number 2 is actually one thing I like about old games, boomer games, is jank shit. it's basically like there's just updates. So this game got like a couple of updates, right? Not, you can't really call them like patches the way that people expect patches for like other games. So whatever people found in the version that was like an exploit, you had to hold that for better or for worse, right? Maybe the best example and of some jank shit from an old fighting game. Yes, sir, you already know. Wave Dash. Imagine if they patched SSBM, this shit would be gone. We all know this would not exist. It started as something that was, this is interesting that you could move this way. And the amount of applications that people have found for this type of mobility over time, honestly, there's too many to talk about. There's so many things you can do with this mechanic, and part of the reason people even got to push it as much as they did is that there's no patches in this game. There's no patches for this game, besides fan patches to do all sorts of like little things. Maybe I don't play with Nintendo stuff. I'm safe, right? I'm safe, Nintendo. So you see this a lot in just older games in general. You have roll canceling, glide throw, for example, SMP, same move paration. While they would gladly take this stuff out of a new game, in old games you couldn't wait for a patch, so you would just have to endure it basically and see how characters are going to use it and what people are going to do with this thing. And it's actually something that I like. There's a Brian F video of how, Oro has a fastball and they took it out, and that shit is pain. They would not have taken it out back in the day, or if they did take it out, they would take it out after like a year, not after like a couple of months. The last thing I like about old games more than new games is that. So what I mean is, one thing that is mildly annoying about newer fighting games is how much slowdown is in the game. So we just got a patch where now even this has slowdown, even though it's only a little bit. So this game has a lot of slowdowns for counter hits and stuff. I know why they put these in, right? And it's definitely helpful. I'm not saying it's not helpful. So the main thing is these slowdowns really take you out of the game. You know what I mean? Again, they are helpful and it lets us do stuff that we could not do before. And it actually makes me look at some moves totally differently, like Milia's Far Slash. But each one of these slowdowns, each one of these reset slowdowns, like here's another one. So when you break the wall, this totally takes you out of the game for a little bit, as opposed to old games, right? Why Vampire Savior? I think this game is like one of the best examples of staying in the game, because a lot of old games keep you in the game, but this game extra keeps you in the game. Why? One, there's basically no slowdown. The only slowdown is Dark Force, and you can't really call it. It's like very short pause button. Two, the game barely lets you take a break in between rounds. So we got a little bit more round here. Queen Bee is not a high damage character, unfortunately. So we have a little neutral. There, by the way, this is Dark Force. He goes, "Ow!" That's it. Boom. Mad quick. And then he's gonna go, "Ow!" when it ends. But this is what the end of a round looks like, okay? So, hit. It's just Oki. The end of a round in this game is just a fucking knockdown. Like, you just stay in the game. Like, a one game of Vampire Savior can be really short. It's like 1 minute or something for 2 stocks, because the game essentially has stocks. It's literally a knockdown, you're right back in it. Old games are super good. It adds like a crack factor almost because the game is just really fast. You're just in it. No pauses, just boom, 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 and then done. I don't know if this is how much of this is on purpose, but compared to the modern style of having a lot of slowdowns, I greatly prefer this. Again, I do understand why they added the slowdowns that they did. There's all sorts of reasons why, and they're all good reasons. But you can't deny that just the speed and crack factor. Like old games, even when new games get fast, because of the slowdowns, the various slowdowns between like wall breaks or like super long, super cinematic supers, all sorts of slowdowns with like crush counter, exert, RC. By the way, exert, RC, exert, danger time, strive, counter hits. There's so much slowdown. There's so much slowdown. We don't even have to use Vampire Savior. I know Vampire Savior went with Capcom, but there is something else we can go with as far as slowdown. We can use old Guilty Gear XX. So Guilty Gear XX is Accent Core, original Accent Core, but there is basically no slowdown at all. So Exert, XX, and Strive all have a unique roaming cancel, right? So the unique roaming cancel of this game is the FRC. It has not the best reputation amongst new players because it's not easy to do, but by far the best thing about FRC is there is zero slowdown. It just happens and that's it. YRC, while a very elegant solution to FRC, it slows the game down from full screen. And of course, the Strive RCs, they have the AoE slowdown. So not only is the game faster because all the moves are faster, but there's also no downtime. There's no slowdown RC. And then in between rounds, as we'll see in a second, no, never mind, he bursts. I mean, someone's gonna die, there you go. So the downtime in between rounds are incredibly short as well. Just boom, next round. To give it to Strive though, there's not a lot of downtime in between rounds, but again, counter hits, wall breaks, supers, there's plenty in the game. This is actually something that's kind of understated, I think, about modern games. But those are the main three for me. There's all the memories. Of course, I could talk about all the memories of playing old games and stuff. But when I was thinking about like actually like in the game, like what do I like about old games more than new games? These are three things that really stood out to me. How do you guys feel? If Sharp Reload is Ocarina of Time, this game is Majora's Mask. Does that make sense?